crucifix and think that Christ has shed all his blood for him, and not only forgave his enemies, but prayed the eternal Father to forgive them also.
Let him remember also that when he says the Pater Noster every day, instead of asking pardon for his sins, he is calling down vengeance upon them.
3 men are generally the carpenters of their own crosses.
For let us concertain ourselves so completely in the divine love, and enter so far into the living fountain of wisdom through the wounded side of our incarnate God,
that we may deny ourselves and our self-love, and so be unable to find our way out of that wound again.
We must not give up praying and asking, because we do not get what we ask all at once.
He who is unable to spend a long time together in prayer should often lift up his mind to God by ejaculations.
We must often remember what Christ said, that not he who begins, but he that perseveres to the end shall be saved.
We ought to abhor every kind of affectation, whether in talking, dressing, or anything else.
9. When a scrupulous person has once made up his mind that he has not consented to a temptation,
he must not reason the matter over again to see whether he has really consented or not, for the same temptations often return by making this sort of reflections.
If those who are molested by scruples wish to know whether they have consented to a suggestion or not,
especially in thoughts, they should see whether, during the temptation, they have always had a lively love to the virtue opposed to the vice in respect of which they were tempted, and hatred to that same vice, and this is mostly a good proof that they have not consented.
11.
The scrupulous should remit themselves always and in everything to the judgment of their confessor, and accustom themselves to have a contempt for their own scruples.
12 scruples are an infirmity which will make a true
to acquire and preserve the virtue of chastity, we have need of a good and experienced confessor. Let a man who desires the first place take the last. As soon as a man feels that he is tempted, he should fly to God and devoutly utter that ejaculation which the fathers of the desert so much esteemed. Deus in agitorium meum intendi, Domini ad adjuvandum me festina. Or that verse, cor mundum crea in me Deus. When sensual thoughts come into the mind, we ought immediately to make use of our minds and fix them instantaneously upon something or other. No matter what, never say what great things the saints do, but what great things God does in his saints. In the warfare of the flesh, only cowards gain the victory. That is to say, those who fly. We should be less alarmed for one who is tempted in the flesh and who resists by avoiding the occasions, than for one who is not tempted and is not careful to avoid the occasions. When a person puts himself in an occasion of sin, saying, I shall not fall, I shall not commit it, it is an almost infallible sign that he will fall, and with all the greater damage to his soul. It is a most useful thing to say often and from the heart, Lord, do not put any confidence in me, for I am sure to fall if thou dost not help me. Or, oh my Lord, look for nothing but evil from me. In temptation we ought not to say, I will do, I will say, for it is a species of presumption and self-confidence. We ought rather to say with humility, I know what I ought to do, but I do not know what I shall do. The stench of impurity before God and the angels is so great that no stench in the world can equal it. 12. We must not trust in ourselves, but take the advice of our spiritual father and recommend ourselves to everybody's prayers. 13, we must avoid lies as we would a pestilence. When we go to confession, we should accuse ourselves of our worst sins first, and of those things which we are most ashamed of, because by this means we put the devil to greater confusion and reap more fruit from our confession. 15, one of the very best means of obtaining humility is sincere and frequent confession. In trying to get rid of bad habits, it is of the greatest importance not to put off going to confession after a fall, and also to keep to the same confessor. In visiting the dying, we should not say many words to them, but rather help them by praying for them. 18, a sick man should make God a present of his will, and if it turns out that he has to suffer for a long time, he must submit to the divine will. The sick man must not fear when he is tempted to lose confidence, for if he has sinned, Christ has suffered and paid for him. 20, let the sick man entered into the side of Jesus and his most holy wounds. Let him not be afraid, but combat manfully, and he will come forth victorious. The true way to advance in holy virtues is to persevere in a holy cheerfulness. 22, the cheerful are much easier to guide in the spiritual life than the melancholy. Those who wish to enter upon the religious life should first of all mortify themselves for a long time, and particularly mortify their will in things to which they have the greatest repugnance. 24, excessive sadness seldom springs from any other source than pride. 25, charity and cheerfulness, or charity and humility, should be our motto. To acquire and preserve the virtue of chastity, we have need of a good and experienced confessor. Let a man who desires the first place take the last, as soon as a man feels that he is tempted. He should fly to God and devoutly utter that ejaculation.
We must never pray for a favor for anyone, except conditionally saying,